Hello, Yakri here with another Warframe video. So this time I want to go over Wisp and kind of give you an overview of her since she's fairly new at the moment. I'll start with a quick TLDR and then we'll get into her abilities. I'll demonstrate some of the good and bad things about her and wrap it up. So, TLDR version is, I think she's a pretty well-designed Warframe, well-designed to over-powerful. She's strong, but not like top tier. Her one ability is quite good. Her teleportation is useful and fun. Her 3 is basically useless. Well, it has one particular benefit, which is that it blinds enemies, right? But other than that, it's not worth much. And her 4, it just doesn't have enough damage to scale well. So that's the TLDR version of Wisp. Let's go into it in a little more detail. Oh, yeah, one other thing for the TLDR. Your passive is awesome. All right, so why is the passive awesome? You're invisible to enemies while in the air. Well, when they say invisible, they really do mean invisible. If you're floating through the air, enemies completely ignore you. And this happens, the cutoff is like pretty snappy. They've done a good job on it. It's not too buggy, which has kind of been a problem with similar abilities at times. So I would say as long as you just kind of hop up and down a lot, you're basically invulnerable. So that's really strong, understandably. With Reservoir, let's talk about her reservoirs for a bit because this is a really neat ability. It's got utility. I almost am disappointed that you can have more than one at a time because it means you're just going to have all 3 out basically all the time. Anyway, her vitality mote, right? This is the vitality option, healing option. It's particularly useful because it gives max HP and HP regen. So this means that a lot of Warframes are not going to be getting like nuked down all of a sudden as easily. It's really helpful for the less like lower HP frames. Like if someone's running Nova with no tank mods at all, they're gonna have very little HP. So the extra HP boost as on top of regen is a significant tank boost for a lot of Warframes in the normal missions you run in this game. So the Haste Mode, obviously this is like pretty nice, like 57% with this ability strength I've got on here. I'll show you my mods in a bit. That's pretty strong. Fire rate for weapons is a large damage boost for your weapons, and it's for your whole squad, and it's easy to have on all the time, but it also gives you a speed boost, which is a lot of convenience factor. The shock mode is quite good. It's very easy to have a large range on it, and it does stun enemies. It's not like amazing CC, but it's free CC, right? It's not like, how to put it, a lot of Warframes somewhat suffer from having CC abilities because they're not that great. And sure, shock mode doesn't matter that much, but it's a bonus on top of 2 other abilities that are quite strong in the more power level for beating content sense, because you get both DPS increase and the actual tank increase for enemies that are immune to abilities like shock mode. Will-o'-the-wisp, very handy. There's not much to it. It's a teleport that lets you actually aim where you're going to teleport, which I really appreciate. And the way you control it is kind of fun, and it has both a click option and a click and hold option, which is nice, right? It's also a taunt, so it has like a lot of multi-purpose, multi-ways to use it type utility, which I appreciate a lot in the ability. Breach Surge, so this is her ability that's not very good. It blinds enemies, right? Does it actually say they're blinded? I'm pretty sure they're blinded. Maybe I'm wrong about that. No, yeah, it does say it. Yeah, I was like questioning myself a little bit there. Yeah, so it blinds enemies. That's really handy. The other parts of the ability, kind of garbage. So it has a damage multiplier, but it multiplies damage after armor. So you can somewhat make this more useful by running 4x corrosive projection. So at least then it will multiply your full weapon damage, which is actually pretty decent. But since it multiplies after armor normally, the multiplier is normally not high enough to beat out armor, and therefore the damage is pathetic, like 1% of an enemy's HP, even with really powerful weapons proccing it. And the proc chance is very, very low. So that's another problem with this. If the proc chance was higher or scaled with anything, I would like the ability a lot more. Or if it was like constantly proccing, but the damage multiplier was gone or lower. I don't know. Even if it was like half the damage but procced 100% of the time and was damaged before armor, I think it would be very strong. But as is, it's not very good. And I'll demonstrate that later as well. Her ultimate, the damage per second is just kind of low when you get to higher power level enemies. It's not terrible. It's just that with any of these type abilities that ever come into Warframe, right, you have to think like, okay, so the higher level enemies I'm going to be facing are like level 80, level 100, and some specialized enemies that are maybe as strong as a level 80 enemy or the level 80 bombard at a lower level. Those occasionally are in the game, right? So if you're not effective against at least level 80 to 100 enemies, and this does get weak against those level of enemies, then it's kind of falling off before the end game content in Warframe. So if you're going to have a flat damage ability as your ultimate, I think it really needs to scale up to that point at least. And so that's a problem that a lot of Warframes have that have these kind of just, this is a set amount of damage type abilities, is that it just doesn't do enough set damage to be relevant. And I think it's kind of fallen into that category. But fortunately for lower level missions, it's still pretty good because of how you can use it. And it's very fun to use, I would say. So this is the build that I actually run on Wisp a lot of the time. Arcane Guardian, Arcane Grace. Arcane Grace is a little bit overkill, but I just had one for my drop, so I threw it on there. You don't need Arcanes, of course. Adaptation is incredibly good on her. 90% damage resistance is amazing. It's going to be a lot more effective than putting armor on her. And with your moats, it works pretty well. It works pretty well. But of course, none of these things are as good as your ability to jump into the air. So I don't know. In the future, I might strip off any and all like damage or defense buffs and just go for straight power strength on her. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about this. Hunter Adrenaline works well with this overall setup. I got a little power strength on there, a little bit of range, do a little mix of things. That's kind of how I like to play casually if I'm not optimizing for a specific mission type. Alrighty, so let's get into demonstrating some of her abilities. First off, I think I already had it set up. I'm just going to drop some heavy gunners and like try out, just hide over here, her tankiness. Okay, so I've got my buff 57 health regen per second on and 1300 health after the mods I have on and also her ability. And I get taken down pretty quickly by the heavy gunners at level 80. They're gnarly. But if I just hang out over here, they're completely ignoring me. Oh fuck. I might get shot now. It's I don't know, DE might nerf this because this is a little bit broken. I think as long as you like fairly quickly move around like people normally move around in Warframe, enemies will never attack you. So maybe this will get a nerf. Maybe there'll be a little bit of a wind up time, so you actually have to hover in the air for a bit before you're just completely ignored by enemies, like I was saying. In chaotic missions with objectives and the like, this doesn't matter that much. You know, there are a decent number of Warframes that are straight up invincible, so shrug, maybe it doesn't matter that much. That'd be interesting, I think, although I'm sure a lot of players wouldn't be happy about it, if enemies that were immune to Warframe abilities ignored that passive, or that were inside nullifiers and the like. Okay, so before I get killed by all of these guys, why don't I just, where did I do it through two? All right, let me just get back here and, oh, I'm probably gonna die, huh? Oh, I lived, yeah, oh, no, I didn't. Huh, that's an interesting bug. Okay, so that's what her passive does. It's pretty handy. So, we got a bit of a glimpse of what her one does. I think we can also, let me just all fire this. Yeah, there we go. So, you know, it's a haste, oh, sorry, that was her two. Yeah, it's a haste ability. I don't know if I really need to demonstrate this. It makes a pretty dramatic difference, hence why I highly recommend abilities that increase weapon speed that Warframes have. It's a really good damage steroid. You know, 50% faster firing isn't quite 50% more damage, but it's the next best thing. All right, so... Oh, I probably shouldn't have cleared those. Let's put just like, yeah, 10's a good number. 10's still a good number. So we'll pause AI. Yes, pausing AI, I believe, still has some bugs with amping damage, but it amps melee damage. So we're not gonna be doing that. We're gonna be doing Warframe Ultimate. So this is her ultimate, right? It's not hurting these guys too much, but that's okay. We can amp it up a little bit higher, so I can click my fire button to do a little more damage, and this is all right, actually, against level 80 bombards. Now, let's say it's not actually terrible. It's not terrible. Now, let's say I drop down this and this and this. Now, there is a synergy between these, this ability and your ultimate. If you have all these buffs on you, your ultimate gets buffed. I believe the shock adds damage the haste adds corrosive damage, and the vitality adds damage. So let's go through these again. And it takes a little bit of wind up because you need to get those corrosive procs from this before they really start taking any significant damage. And yeah, it's not terrible. The thing is, like, I guess to give you an idea of what my expectation is, why I say that this is still not like really great at level 80, even though it's killing level 80 enemies, is that if we look, I have 190% power strength. This is pretty good, but it's not like crazy high, right? But this is like a well-rounded build. I've put 4 Forma into her, and it's just kind of okay versus enemies of this level. And I could get something like let's compare it to the Amprex. I think actually, of course it's a very, very good weapon, but the thing is that you can use weapons on any Warframe, so Warframes have to compete with these really strong weapons with their abilities. And someone like Mesa, for example, has zero problem competing with weapons with her abilities at enemies of this level, right? So this isn't even optimized for killing Grineer at all. This is actually for my Corpus killing build. And this doesn't require me to use energy or you know, be locked in an animation for a bit with a little bit of a stun after I disable it also, right? So like click and boom. It's really, really good, is the point, right? The Amprex is really good, and if I was using the corrosive build on it, it would have killed those guys even faster. I'm not sure I even have punch through on this build on it. It's like a gas slash build that I do for funsies. That's really good at killing large crowds of enemies. So yeah, I think that's kind of my jam. My jam? What kind of stupid comment is that? All right, that's kind of my point here, right? So now I think a lot of people have done videos about this before already, but because it's one of the easier things to comment on. Let's get the Opticore. It's got a lot of raw damage. It doesn't really rely on criticals, although I think I have crit on here, so that's a huge amount of damage. We're gonna just queue up those level 80 guys again. Or maybe I should go higher than level. Oh, why do I always, you know, I got used to doing something like that before, and now it's dumb to do, and I still do it. All right, we got those out there. Let's talk about her 3, right? So let's talk her 3. Her 3 is a little bit. I'm talking about the 2 last. That's kind of weird. There's not much to say about it though. So we get these. They're all blinded now. They can't see me. That's actually pretty solid CC, of course. But the real problem is the little sparks that fly out. Come on, will I even get one? Let's see. We'll get one eventually, right, guys? Come on. Maybe I should just shoot him in the leg. Yeah, just less, no headshot critical damage. It probably doesn't take that into account. Oh, look, there we go. Wait, maybe? Was that a proc? Was that a spark proc? It could have just been the explosion from the Opticore. Wow, we didn't get any that I could see. Did you see any there? Let me know in the comments if I'm completely blind. But we'll give that another try. Yeah, right. It'll work out this time. I want to kill enemies, not clear them. All right, let's give this another shot. Let's give this another shot, right? Okay. There's a little damage, but that's just from the Opticore's explosion, right? Nothing. Nothing. Come on. There's supposed to be like a little spark that flies out. Was that it? Shit. I'm not sure if that was it or not. If it was, it didn't do much. But we were kind of expecting that, so... Seriously? What does it take? Have I glitched this out somehow? Is it... Oh, there it was, 600 damage. Did you see that? 600 whole damage, wow. So my Opticore, which one-shots these enemies in the head, right? Its damage is being multiplied by 3.8 times, supposedly, with Reservoir, deals 600 radiation damage when flying out. You know, DE, that just it doesn't seem right somehow. But that said, the ability is kind of neat for the blind, okay? And I think we're about done with Wisp. We just want to show off her 2 and her teleportation ability. So why don't I just let's see, let's like plant down a little plant like here. It's like a good spot for one, right? So first things first, you can press her 2 and just like aim it off in a random direction, and it goes for the duration amount, and then right before it ends, you can press 2 again to teleport out in that direction. Or you can hold it to go way faster. Oh fuck. or you can hold it to go way faster, which is, it's pretty decent speed, and then you can just boop, you're way out here, boop, boop. Ah, fuck. All right, I failed. The other thing you can do is you can use your 3 ability on one of her little plants, and woo, it just instantly teleport over to that location. The range, potential range is like quite long. I don't know if it's listed. I don't know if it's listed on these abilities. I think it's not. It's like a little combo you have to kind of learn about. It says you can target it. It does not tell you a particular range though. At least not on there. And let's see. I think we can probably make this work. Like, where we go? Oh fuck! That's almost. There we go. Yeah. So that's pretty far away, right? That's pretty far away. So yeah, I think that wraps up Wisp. Her ultimate it's okay, but it's a little on the weak side. I would love to see the base damage increase just like a bit. I don't know, 20%, 30% increase, and then it would burn down level 80 tough enemies a little bit faster when she's optimized, and that would pretty much solve my grief with it. Yeah, okay, it still wouldn't scale into endless missions and stuff, but not everything needs to do that. It just needs to hit up to like level 120 or so. And at level 120, if your ability's kind of weak, it's fine. What's just not super fine, in my opinion, if it's weak at around level 80, because that's a little more frequently achieved, shall we say. Or an equivalent level of power by just like facing an enemy that your damage type isn't appropriate for at lower levels or whatnot. Okay, so yeah, I think that covers her abilities. Her 3 is actually just bogus. The like damage, little seeking out things. The proc rate is insanely low. Oops. It's insanely low, and the damage from it is insanely bad, and that actually definitely needs to change. I think if her ult didn't change, I'd be a little disappointed, because I think like to kind of match up with where a lot of other frames are at, it does need to get a little bit stronger, but her 3 actually does not work very well. And in fact, you know what I don't like about her 3? I don't like that it blinds enemies, if anything. The one part of it that's actually useful right now, because we don't really need even more CC that totally disables enemies in the game, so that only nullifiers are any sort of problem. And she also has her, you know, unlimited invulnerability by just hopping into the air. You know, I'm gonna be sad to see that change, probably, but in some ways, because it's kind of nice, it's bullshit, you can really abuse it. It's in some ways that's fun, but I think it probably does need to change because it's definitely broken. And that pretty much covers Wisp. That's my kind of go-to on Wisp. I might make a what makes Wisp so great and then like talk about abusing one part of her abilities, but I don't know. She's just kind of an all-arounder who's fun to play. I don't know if she has like a real like shining star abusable ability, except maybe like her movement speed's really good. That's and you can stack it with other movement speed and go insanely fast in Warframe, and so that's always fun to do. So yeah, that pretty much sums up Wisp. Thank you all for watching, and if y'all like this video and you want to see more content like it, or probably lower quality while I'm sleep deprived from work, since this is a holiday weekend and I'm much more alive than usual, please subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Bye.